Hey, yeah. Welcome to another show. I'm not going to go through plugs and all that stuff, but a close friend and an ECW original has passed away, and it feels weird doing these videos. Every time a wrestler passes away, you want to do a video and talk about it, but we, it just feels extra weird because I actually knew this wrestler, and Hack Meyers has passed away. He went in for brain surgery. We then had to go, went into a coma and passed away. And a lot of people are going to know him from ECW. I know him from ACW and the Florida Independents, and I owe so much to Hack. Yeah, and the one thing, I don't know, I took notes. I took notes. I normally never take notes, but yeah, so he was an ECW original. And the cool thing is, if it wasn't for ECW, I probably wouldn't be a fan to this day. ECW came along right at the perfect time for me to continue being a wrestling fan. And the cool thing about ECW is the way the booking was. And I wish more companies booked like this. I think, there's a couple out there that do it, but not enough. Where it seemed like everyone was important on the card. Even though Hack Meyers might not have the best win-loss record, when you were a fan of ECW, you were like, oh, there's Hack Meyers. He's important. It just seemed like everyone that came out of the curtain in ECW felt important, no matter what their role was. And there's a few companies that do that now, but no, it just was extra special at ECW. He also trained Tyson Tomko. I got to book and work with Tyson Tomko thanks to Hack Meyers. I owe Hack Meyers a lot, actually, a lot. And I'll try to get to all of everything that I owe this guy. Just great guy. And in wrestling, there's a lot of phony people, and they're not genuinely good people. And when you meet a person who's genuinely a good person, it feels weird because you're like, are you fucking working me? And that's the first thing you think of. That's a bad state of fucking the business, but you're like, wow, that's a nice person. He's working me for something. And Hack, he was so nice that that's the first thing you thought of when you met him. But then as time went on, no one ever talked bad about him. No one had anything bad to say about him. He was just an overall great guy. And thanks to him, I got to book Tyson Tomko. And at one time, I was the only American promoter that, outside of WWE, of course, that used Tyson Tomko. And he also trained Scoot Andrews. And I've said this a bunch of times on the show. If you don't know who Scoot Andrews is, please look him up. He was tearing up the East Coast with a very young AJ Styles and a very young Christopher Daniels. And he retired just before the X Division, and smaller guys like AJ Styles really took off. And he was probably one of my favorite independent wrestlers of all time. I never got to work with him, but he was such a great wrestler. And Hack trained him. And that's just, one guy made it to WWE. One guy is one of the best wrestlers in the Indies, so it tells you something about the way he trains. And I ran a small company. It was called ACW. It was out of Florida. And, we had Combat TV. And, even though we only got maybe 200 to 500 people in our prime into a building, actually, no, that's not true. Daytona, we've got a couple thousand, but on average, we averaged 200 to 500, and it's not a big deal. But we used to have millions of people watch us on Combat TV because we were one of the first companies to ever stream. Well, matter of fact, I remember when Combat TV was out, we had to explain to people what streaming television was. And millions of people saw it. Most India and Brazil blew up Combat TV. And Hack was on Combat TV, and it was a small company. And Hack was one of the first names that came. We used all local talent, and Hack would drive on a Tuesday from Daytona to St. Pete. And I imagine, I don't know, with traffic and stuff, that's probably like a 3-hour, 4-hour ride, crossing the state of Florida. And he would be there. And all he cared about was the company growing. He would be like, I remember Hack, and this doesn't happen much, But Hack was one of those guys where he was like, he thought differently. And he was one of those guys you had to beg him to go over. Like, he'd be like, all right, I'm going to put everyone over. I'll put, he drove 4 hours for the smallest fucking company in the world. And he helped out in every way possible. Like, he was just, all right, I'm on board. I'm going to help ACW as much as I can. And he like, most wrestlers you have to talk into. You're like, okay, well, if you lose this match, blah, 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 blah. He was the opposite. You're like, no, Hack, you have to eventually win. People like you. People are rooting for you. You have to win. And it was just funny because, when dealing with hundreds to thousands of wrestlers, there's not many wrestlers you have to go to and be like, no, you really have to win. Or no, you have to be champion and stuff. And Hack was one of those guys. And ACW is still around today. I don't really stay in contact with the owners, but I just want people to know, and I hope ACW does something special for them at the next show. I'll try to contact them or know people that in ACW. ACW, you would not be where you are today. ACW would not have survived. ACW wouldn't have had the stars if it wasn't for Hack Meyers. So I hope you do something nice. I might have to contact them. I'm like, hey, I used to own a company. I've never talked to you before, but hopefully they do something nice for Hack Meyers because, it was just crazy. He would just do anything and help everyone. I remember towards the end of ACW, we had a television taping, and it was at the Jewish Community Center, and it was a really packed crowd, so many wrestlers. It was one of our more successful shows. I think this was one of my last shows as the owner of the company, and WWE wanted us at the time. I normally don't tell the story, but we were supposed to be FCW, we were supposed to be NXT, and we were supposed to be developmental territory for ECW, the WWE's version of ECW. And when the WWE employees, I'll keep them nameless, but when the WWE employees were backstage at our TV taping, everyone took credit. Everyone took credit. They're like, oh, well, the reason there's a crowd is because of us. The reason we draw, the reason the storyline is because of me. Everyone was looking for a WWE contract. And there was only like 3 or 4 people, and Hack was one of them, that, I am not very good in a corporate situation. And these were corporate suit-wearing ties, and everyone was taking credit for what ACW had, except Hack. Hack was like, no, everything is because of Ralph Mosca and Dave Coco. They're the ones that worked hard. Dave Coco is the one that runs the back. He's the one that's booking. And it's funny because you would see people that are like, I'm your friend. And they'd be like, WWE comes into town. They're like, no, this is all me. I fucking did it. I built this empire. And Hack wasn't like that at all. So it was just absolutely amazing. And, he also wrestled at Wrestle Reunion. And he got to hang out with him all day. And it was a real cool experience. And he just helped. He helped KocoSports just open doors. He helped, he tried to help me as much as he could, and it was just a great guy. So I'm just trying to see. Oh, and then there was the Daytona show. We had new owners, and they just bought me out, and they promoted like every WWE legend, and he's like, they put them on flyers, they put them on posters, and there was no commitment on these WWE legends. And I told him, I'm sorry, I'm coughing so much. I told the new owners, which, I was still the booker, but I didn't own the company anymore. I was like, dude, you can't advertise people that you don't know are going to 100% be there. And he's like, don't worry, they're going to be there. They use delusional. And none of the WWE legends showed up. So we're in Daytona. We had about 400 to, I'll just say 400. I don't fucking know. It's indie numbers. But we had about 400 people drive across the state. Then we had another like 400. We had like 1,000 people in that building, and half of them drove from the state, and the other half, were from Daytona, thanks to John Diamond busting his ass and Hack busting his ass. If you run a show in Daytona and you didn't have Hack or John Diamond on it, you were a fucking idiot. But we packed this place, and the new owners were like, "Oh, all these WWE legends are showing up," and I'm like, "No, they're not. No, they're not. Do you have them in contract? Do you have, I'm talking to him," and he's like, "No, don't worry, put them on a flyer. They gave us permission to put it on a flyer." I'm like, "I don't give a fuck if they gave you permission to put them on a flyer. The talent has to actually show up." And surprise, surprise, the talent doesn't show up. It's all local guys with the new owner / new promoter putting WWE legends on the poster. And I remember going, "Dude, we have to have a name. We have to have a draw." And I called Hack, who's in Daytona, and I said, "Who can you get in short notice?" And he got Tyson Tomko, and we put on one hell of a show, and people were happy to see Tyson Tomko at the time. It was a very, very rare sighting of Tyson Tomko at the time. And he just saved our ass, and he was just a great guy. And I imagine if it wasn't for Hack, one of the company's best shows would have been a disaster. John Diamond did a lot, Hack did a lot, and it was just amazing. We also did a radio show together, me and Hack Meyers. I wanted to call it Hack and Hack in the Morning because, he's Hack Meyers, I'm a radio hack, but he thought it wasn't that funny. So we called it Turnbuckle Talk, and I think we did like a month or 2 months of it, and then I got really sick, and we said we'd do it again later, and it never happened. But it was a lot of fun, So yeah, we did a radio show for a short time. Me and Hack Meyers. It was called Turnbuckle Talk. I'm gonna see if I can find it. I know we lost so much. I put down a doobly-doo some links to his matches. If you and also some links to details and stuff. Sorry about the noise in the background. My maid is horrible. Let's see. Oh, what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, so my last show ever, I was really sick. I moved to Japan maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. I was really, really, really sick. But when I was promoting, I ran my last show. It was called Tampa All Pro. And it had D'Lo Brown, Billy Gunn, Tyson Tomko, Cahagas, and a lot of star power, along with a lot of our ACW originals. And it was all because of Hack Meyers. And I remember I was so sick, I couldn't run the back. A lot of people don't know this, but if you take a lot of pride in your product and you take a lot of pride and it's for television, and running the back is not as easy as people think. It's a very difficult situation. It's a bit of a stressful job. And I was way too sick and weak at the time. This is when I decided to move to Japan because I just knew of better doctors in Japan. And I was really sick, and it was my last show ever. I called it Now or Never, but I know as soon as I got there how sick and how weak I was. I was like, I'll probably never promote a show again. And Hack ran the back for me. Like, not many people knew. I think James Legend, Hack, and maybe one or two other wrestlers, were like, "Oh no, Dave is really fucked up." But Hack, he just ran the back for me, and it was so great. He just stood up and he's like, "Yeah, dude, Dave, I know you're fucking sick as shit. Let me fucking run the back." And my last show ever, I was ran the back by Hack Meyers, and he was just always a great guy, always looking out for you. He worked for TNA for a long time, and he always got me free tickets, always got me into the building, always wanted me to come. He opened many doors for me in TNA. I got to meet a lot of TNA creatives through Hack Meyers, and it was funny because like one time he's like, "Oh, we have a meeting and they want to know how you how you draw a lot of people with not many talents and not many money, pretend that English is proper. And I went, and it was really cool. It was an experience. It was funny because Hack goes, "Just be yourself." And then, like, I was myself, loud, obnoxious, blah, 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 blah. And I remember leaving, and Hack he just laughed and smiled. He's like, "You were definitely yourself." That was one of my few times being backstage at TNA. And one of my biggest regrets is I had a lot to do. When you leave a country, you have a lot to do. And the week that I was leaving, he invited me to a TNA pay-per-view, and I didn't go. And I kind of regret it, because I could have just went to the last TNA pay-per-view, hung out with them, seen a couple of my TNA friends before I left, and I just didn't. So I kind of regret. I know I was really busy, but I probably should have. So yeah, and I don't know. So overall, Hack Meyers is one hell of a person. And even when I went into Japan, a lot of times pro wrestling is not a good place to make friends. Everyone is using everyone. Everyone is working everyone. It's kind of pathetic. And if you don't, it's so funny when you are running one of the hottest companies in Florida, everyone is your friend. As soon as you're like, "Oh, I'm sick and I don't run companies anymore," your friend list dies. You're like, "Wow, I have a top 800 friends. Now I have 2." And I remember when I moved to Japan, and I was really sick, and Hack was one of the few people. And I lived in Japan. There was no benefits of still being my friend. He was one of the few people that checked in. He was like, "Hey, bro, how's it going?" And it was just great. So. I just wanted to let people know how great of a person Hack Meyers really was, how much he loved pro wrestling, and how much he was willing to help. I can't imagine anyone saying anything bad about Hack Meyers. You know what I mean? Trust me, people say horrible shit about me, but some of that's justified. But not Hack. Hack was he was just an amazing person. He was a really really good person, and he helped me in the business so much, even if it just didn't benefit him. I just remember, he would just help anybody. He really cared about professional wrestling, and a lot of times people and I'm kind of guilty of this. I don't want to be, but I kind of am guilty, and I would like to learn from Hack. A lot of times when you help someone, and I try not to do this, but it's a flaw in my character. When you help someone, don't expect something in return. And a lot of times I'd be like, "All right, I'm going to help you off the ground, but when you make it, hey, I want a piece of that action," or "Hey, I'm going to help you." And Hack was never like that. Hack, one thing I try to do in my older life that try to find more happiness is help people without them expecting ever for them to return the favor. You just live a happier life. And Hack was like that. Hack, never expected anything in return. He was just there to help. He would pull wrestlers aside, give them advice. He would help booking. He would help as many people as he could. And overall, he was a great guy. And I just hope more people check out Hack Meyers and know about how much of a great guy he was. And it's just a sad situation. All right. I could probably tell you a million more stories, but I don't know if Hack would want those stories out. But overall, he was a great guy, and just hopefully he's remembered. And I hope the new ACW does something special for him, even if it's just to announce something, because there's so many small companies in Florida that benefited so much from Hack, not only in the ring, but also just what he did behind the scenes. All right. I'll be back tomorrow for a Monday Night Raw review. So I'll just end it with this. Thank you, Hack, for everything you did for me. I will always be grateful. Thank you.